Hi Leslie, we're so glad to have you here today on Legit KidLit. Can you please give a short intro about you and your books?
Hi, my name is Leslie Barnard Booth, and I am a picture book author. I'm the author of A Stone is a Story, illustrated by Mark Martin. This book is my debut picture book, and it is out in stores now. It released on October 3rd, so I'm very excited that this book is finally out in the world. And I have another book coming up soon. This book is available for pre-order, but these, as you can see, this isn't the actual book. These are the proofs, the advanced reviewer proofs of the book. This one releases March 26th, 2024. It's called One Day This Tree Will Fall, and it's illustrated by Stephanie Pfizer Coleman. And a little bit more about A Stone is a Story. This is a great one for rock hounds and budding geologists. It follows a stone as it forms and transforms over hundreds of millions of years, becoming an object that can tell stories about Earth's deep past. So I hope you'll check it out.
What do you love most about nonfiction picture books?
I think what I most love about nonfiction picture books is the way they convey fascinating information about the real world while also telling a great story. So particularly nonfiction picture books with a narrative structure, nonfiction picture books that use the tools of fiction to convey factual information. Those are so engrossing, so fun to read, and I think when we're engaged in that way, it's much easier to learn and absorb information than when we're just given a litany of facts.
Can you show off a spread or your favorite page in your book?
Sure, I would be happy to. I always struggle to choose, but one spread I really love is this one, which just beautifully conveys how Earth's ancient seas looked and the kinds of creatures that lived in that long ago time before the first tetrapods stepped on land and long before the dinosaurs existed. So I love how Mark gives us a glimpse of that here. I'll read the text that goes along with this, and this is talking about the rock. There it has waited for millions of years. Bits of seaweed and shell and bone have piled on top of it, have become part of it. And I just love how this shows that rocks can be made of the remains of living things, and that's part of the way rocks tell stories, is because they preserve a record that helps us reconstruct what this long ago time might have looked like. And without rocks, we'd have no clue. So, yeah, I really love that spread.
What are 3 things that help you feel inspired?
Well, what a great question. Yeah, 3 things that inspire me. I'd say the first is definitely my kids. I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old, and their fascination with nature, including the everyday nature that's around us here in an urban setting where we live, really inspires me every day, because they have so much patience for nature. They take their time with nature. They observe it closely and get so much out of it. They notice things that I would walk right by, and they've kind of brought me back to that sense of childlike wonder ever since they were little, and even now they're constantly reminding me to slow down and look closely at the natural world and all the wonders it holds. So they're number one. And then nature itself, for sure. Being in nature here in the city, noticing crows and snails and spider webs and all that kind of everyday nature that's around us. And then also going out into the wilderness and feeling completely immersed and surrounded by nature is such an inspiring experience, and really gives me a lot of ideas for books I'd like to write and topics I'd love to learn more about. So that's a big source of inspiration. And then lastly, reading picture books that are beautifully done is always an inspiration. Seeing how writers and illustrators convey information in a really compelling, fresh, original way gets me really excited and gets me thinking of how I could approach a topic from a fresh perspective. And also just like reading books about science for adults. I read a lot of picture books, but I do read some books for adults. So reading books about science, keeping up with the news about science, and I even get excited about reading scientific papers, journal articles. When I'm really into a topic, I dive deep, and I love learning all the fascinating details in those scientific studies. So yeah, kids, nature, and me.
So some people collect coins, others collect stamps, you collect rocks, which is really, really cool. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and why you love it so much? Maybe show us a few of your favorites.
Yeah. Well, I have collected rocks for as long as I can remember. It just seemed like a natural thing to do when I was out walking on the beach with my family. I've just always been intrigued by rocks and always wondered, where did rocks come from? And I pick up a rock and sort of wonder about its story. And I just loved, I loved how tactile rocks are, how you can pick them up and hold them, and you can explore them with your hands. You can really feel the different textures and see the different colors, dip them in water, and then they shine. And I think that sensory experience of rocks was a lot of fun for me as a kid, and still is fun. And I don't know, there's something soothing too about holding a rock in your hand. Just feels right. So I've always collected rocks, and I still have some of the rocks that I collected when I was a child, and I continue to add rocks to my collection. And I do have some of my favorites here. Where to begin? Okay, I'll start with this. This one is a piece of basalt, which is an igneous rock. And this one's really special to me. I collected it a few years ago when I was in Iceland. I was traveling there with my family, and we got to witness an active volcano erupting. And this is actually a piece of the lava that flowed out of that volcano. So I got to see the lava in its liquid form gushing out of this volcano and streaming down this hillside. And I got to see the rock that was forming at the base of this volcano as that lava cooled. It flowed down and filled this valley and completely reshaped it by building all this fresh rock on top of the landscape. So it's just incredible to see Earth's surface changing so dramatically right before our eyes. And so this is just a little piece of that lava, the liquid lava that cooled and became basalt. And you can really see that liquidy flow here in the shape of the rock. And then another cool one. Okay, what I love about this is it just looks like an everyday kind of rock. I mean, it's cool because it's got that stripe and it's got these other stripes, but when you really think about what those stripes mean, it's really fascinating. So this is a sedimentary rock. We see it's got these layers of sandstone and mudstone that are formed just from sand and mud piling up over long time periods and getting compressed as the weight of the sediment above weighs down on it and compresses those pieces together, turning them to rock. And so we can see how those layers built up over time. And then you can see maybe a little better on this side how those layers got offset. You know, they don't line up here on this side to this side. They got offset a little bit from faulting, from the movement of tectonic plates that ruptured the rock and scooted those layers like this. And then in that little crack, we see that quartz precipitated. So little bits of quartz flowed through over time and filled this crack with this pretty white stripe. So I just love how this rock embodies the idea of a stone as a story. This stone gives us a whole sequence of events and really does tell stories about Earth's past and what was going on.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you love the connection between science and art?
Yes. I think both art and science are ways of understanding our world, interpreting it, navigating it, and they go well together because science can give us objective facts and art can infuse those facts with deeper meaning. So in a picture book where you have illustrations, and if it's a lyrical picture book, the text is akin to poetry or music, you have not only the facts, but you have this really immersive emotional journey happening as well as a child experiences that book. And so I think that brings to life the awe and transcendence that you can feel when you're in nature, and that's kind of hard to put into words, but in this meeting of art and science, I think that can be captured and conveyed.
So Leslie has some really awesome educator guides, printables, art projects, and videos on her website. So we're going to show you a few of those right now, and then you need to just go check it out for yourself.
Alright guys, this is Leslie's website. If you click on for educators, you can find a bunch of resources for A Stone is a Story or for One Day This Tree Will Fall. Let's click here into A Stone is a Story. And you can see all the lessons, activities for different grade levels posted here. There's even some further reading. And then let's go into the other book. And then there are some downloads here for her other book. If you're interested in author visits, make sure you click that tab, and she would be happy to connect with you. She has a lot of different fun, exciting author visits that she can offer to people.
We would love for you to walk us through an exercise that teachers can use with your book, A Stone in a Story.
Sure. Yes, I have several activities related to A Stone is a Story. Science activities, writing activities, discussion questions for a range of grades. All of that can be found on my website, and I'm going to share one with you. For this activity, after reading and discussing A Stone is a Story, the teacher asks children to go out and find a stone of their own that they're curious about. And it can be any rock found easily near school or home. And they bring that rock in, and then you ask them to consider what they think that stone story might be, and to imagine the story of that stone. So this activity is called My Stone Story. And I have two versions here. One where children can tell the story of their stone primarily through illustrations or only through illustrations. And then here where they can both write and illustrate. And so you can choose what's best for the level of your students. And what both of these printables ask is, what is the story of your stone? What has it been through during its time on Earth? And so then we have these transition words that children can practice working with: first, next, then, finally. And using that template, they can tell what they imagine to be the story of their stone. So what has it been through? Was it ever lava? Did it ever get crushed under the foot of a dinosaur? Did it ever get baked deep underground? Did it ever get ground down to a speck of sand or mushed together with the remains of ancient sea creatures? What happened to this rock? Yeah.
We hear you have a cool science art activity as well.
Yes, I do. I have a really fun art meets science mason jar stratigraphy activity on my website, which allows students to explore stratigraphy, which is the analysis of the order and position of fossils and archaeological remains. This activity allows students to explore stratigraphy through sand art. So in this project, they create sedimentary layers and deposit in each layer the fossils that correspond with the time period that they're representing. So the oldest fossils, the early sea life, will be on the bottom, and then we'll see the dinosaurs, and then we'll see the mammals. And through that process, students can see how the oldest fossils are buried the deepest and why that is. And you can use craft sand, like in that example, or you can use everyday materials like lentils or rice to represent that sediment that's piling up. And you put it all in a mason jar, another jar that you have sitting around. For the fossils, it's really fun to ask students to make or find little doodads to represent the different kinds of life. So yeah, for early sea life, this kind of thing is fun. Or my kids made some little things out of Sculpey to represent those creatures. Yeah. So that kind of thing can work for your early sea life layer. And then you can have a dinosaur layer. A lot of us have these little things sitting around the house, or students can make something to represent that. And then you'll have your mammals. So that is a really fun one to get kids thinking about how sedimentary rock forms and how stratigraphy works, and get them thinking about what a scientific model is. And that's just one example of what the final product could look like if you're using for your sediment just everyday materials you have sitting around in your kitchen.
Take care, Leslie. Bye. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me today, Tiffany and Alexis. This has been a lot of fun. Bye.